In other news, should we talk about the prisoner exchange? Since we were talking about President Biden, we're ticking, the clock's ticking on his time as president.
Only 40 some more days on office.
Wow.
Oh, actually, by the time this episode comes out, maybe less than that.
Yeah, I mean, that's enough time for a global flood to recede.
Recede?
Thank you.
Okay.
I was like, this isn't sounding right.
You know, when you suddenly swing a biblical reference
It's always on the tip of my mind.
out of the middle of nowhere, then I have to be like, wait, what is he? Okay, Noah. Yeah, got it.
Okay, so yes, there's enough time for a biblical flood that had already happened to recede, if that's what it was now.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also time for Biden to do some prisoner exchanges with China. Shelley,
Okay.
over to you.
I thought you were going to take it. So, right before Thanksgiving, the U.S. and China swapped 3 Chinese prisoners in the U.S. for 3 Americans that had been imprisoned in China.
Yeah, we had talked about some of them in the past, but
Yeah, so this the 3 Chinese citizens that the U.S. had released were essentially Chinese spies. Like 2 of them had been convicted of spying for China and had been serving. One was serving like a 20-year prison sentence. One was serving an 8-year prison sentence. And then the Americans that were released were this guy, Mark Lee, who had been held in China since 2016 on spying charges. People say he was not actually a spy.
God, 2016, so 8 years in a Chinese prison.
Yeah, this guy, Mark Swiden, which I think we've talked about him before in the past. He had been sentenced in 2012 to drug trafficking charges.
which carries a death penalty in China.
Yeah, and he was, since 2012, he had been detained and possibly was going to be executed. And again, some people say that he was not actually
Yeah, that
trafficking
was
drugs.
something China planted on him.
And then this guy, Zhang Liun, who's 78, had left. He had been in the U.S. and seemingly to be an agent of CCP influence in the U.S., actually. He had started several pro-Beijing groups in Houston, Texas, and then it turns out that he was actually been secretly an FBI informant
Mm-hmm.
for
like
years.
Double agent kind of
Yeah, and so he had been he was arrested several years ago in China, and so
thing. Oddly, he went back to China when he was 75.
yeah, it was. I have to say that if you're being an informant for the FBI, it's possibly not safe to
Possibly not.
go to China again. But
Remember what they did to those CIA agents?
yes,
All the
Many
ones who
years
were
ago?
killed.
Yeah, they just like rounded them up and shot them and their families. Like it was awful.
Yeah.
yeah. So, okay, and then there were also 3 Uyghurs who were released. They weren't under custody, but they were allowed to leave the country and go to their relatives in the U.S., including the mom of a, someone we've had on the show several times, Nuri Turkle.
Mm-hmm. Prominent Uyghur activist, and who made it into the U.S. government.
Yeah, he was I can't remember the acronym anymore, but it was basically the U.S. has a commission on religious freedom.
Yeah. I mean, that's a nice thing about Doge. It's easy to remember.
That's true.
That's true.
That's true.
When you name your government programs after memes.
Is this going to be the meme administration?
It really could be.
It could well be. Yes. Anyway, so back to the
So
prisoner
can I
exchange.
say administration? I said it first here on China Unscripted.
Okay. Yes, that actually was good, Matt. It's a good pun.
Thank you.
I hope that does get clipped.
Administration.
Administration.
Anyway, so the prisoner exchange was interesting because I think it's been negotiated for a long time, but what was also interesting is that after the prisoner exchange, the U.S. State Department lowered their travel warning for China. Do you know about this?
Oh, no, I didn't.
Yeah, so for several years now, since COVID, the U.S. State Department has travel warnings on their website, right? And they had given China, I don't know if it was the highest.
I think it was
but
level 3 they gave China.
yeah, it was like a pretty high one where they were like, okay, do not. We would
I think it was
recommend
reconsider.
It was
reconsider
is illegal.
travel.
Reconsider traveling.
you
Yeah,
know.
as opposed to like, do not go.
I mean, I think do not go is probably reserved for like
The DPRK.
yes.
Yeah. And yet people still go.
Well,
They just love the Juche and the true Korea freedom, not like America.
Yeah.
I don't know how some people get to their conclusions.
I don't know.
I'd like to see them show their proof.
That would probably be North Korean propaganda.
Yeah.
Or maybe Russian propaganda, or
So at any rate, so the prisoner exchange, the U.S. then lowered their travel advisory from level 3 to level 2.
yes.
So it's like a sort of, it's just like
It's
just
like a
be
weird
cautious, I
favor.
think.
yeah, so that is like a weird part of it, I think, because
that was probably-
there's still a lot of Americans who are not necessarily directly in prison in China, but I think there are Americans like citizens who are in labor camps. There are many American citizens who are in what they call exit bans.
Mhm.
So you cannot leave the country. You may not be in custody officially, but you're just not. Your movements are restricted. You're not allowed to leave China.
Yeah, I'm sure this was part of the deal because China wants more Americans to come to China, bring some money.
Yeah, they're looking to become less of a. The travel to China since COVID has just never recovered to the levels it was before. So
And on top of that, there's the business issue, which is like a lot of companies are quietly pulling out or partially, removing some assets from China.
but they're not saying.
They're not saying it. And I mean, very few companies are going to be like, so our plan is to pull out of China 2 months from now. So just watch. And then,
Then they get raided.
they get, all their assets get nationalized by the Chinese government and they lose everything. And their people get arrested for being spies or drug dealers or something.
Yeah, I think was it Mary Kissel we were talking to about
Yeah.
this? That she's talking about a lot of companies looking to get out now.
Yeah. You can't. I mean, like on China Uncensored, we told the story in 2020 in January, right before COVID, so it didn't get a lot of traction. But there was this company that had been sponsoring us, Mova Globes. Those are the ones that have that blue spinning globe back there. Really cool globes that they had moved manufacturing to China, and then basically the CCP screwed them over their designs because some of their designs had maps, and those maps of the world were not approved because they didn't show, for example, the 9-dash line.
And Taiwan is part of
And
China.
Taiwan is part of, and I'm not talking about just like a regular political map from 2020. I'm talking about like one of the designs. I don't know if it's on here, but it's like an ancient
It's a historical map.
like a
It's
1600s.
Yeah, it was an Italian map from like 17 something or whatever.
Whatever it is, it's like
yeah.
like an old style map. Like it needed to have the 9-dash line.
It wasn't
to
just an
be
old
approved.
style map. It was a reproduction of an actual map from the 1600s or 1700s. So
which is critically important to the CCP because they like to bring out the old maps that say it was always a part.
So the point is that the CCP was going so nuts over trying to force Mova Globes to redesign their globes to put in the absurd territorial claims that they have now, that Mova was like we can't do this, and like they were halting production. It was just a mess, and so they wanted to leave. But then, and this is the thing that happened: the Chinese government came in and they basically took over their facility and nationalized it, and like all of their like physical assets that were still in their warehouses and their production facilities were confiscated. So they lost like all of their products, and so they had to start not entirely from scratch, but like to a large degree, They just lost so much trying to get out of China, even though they felt like they were being forced out. So this is going to happen with.
And they're in Taiwan now, right?
They're in Taiwan now.
True China.
I'm not sure we
yes,
want to make the connection between Taiwan and North Korea.
I was going to say, yeah, like, and I'm not sure everyone in Taiwan actually feels like that. A lot of them feel like they're just Taiwan.
Yeah, I think a lot of young people are just like, they just want to be Taiwan.
So anyway, so we're talking about pulling out of China, and it's going to be hard to do. And like, we've seen how much trouble it's been with Apple, and they've been, they've built new facilities in India and Brazil, but they're still, the new iPhone sold to Americans are still made in China.
Well, and also this is the problem with all of the talk of any kind of trade war or tariffs on China is you have like these business elites who will be like, oh, but things will get more expensive for Americans. And it's like, well, these were the same people who said it would be great for America if we just moved all of our manufacturing to China to get cheap stuff. And it destroyed entire towns, ruined people's lives in America. And now, yeah, we're poor and hooked on like cheap Chinese goods from a country that's trying to destroy us.
It's like, have you ever thought about secondary effects? Like the primary effect of moving to China was cheaper goods, but the secondary effect was the complete gutting of manufacturing. So
it also wasn't just like the cheaper goods angle. It was the idea that there's 1.4 billion customers in China
who are going to buy American products.
Yeah, so that was a large part of it too, and that was also a lie.
Yes.
Right.
It was all
lies. It was, I think, from the CCP's perspective, they were lying, but a lot of American companies and politicians were just duped.
Well, but this is the idea of like that we were talking about earlier about how China is very good at political warfare. The U.S. is not. And so that allows for people to be duped.
Right. And
yeah, we're very naive in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Not the three of us, but the elites.
No, we're cynical and jaded.
I'm not jaded. I'm optimistic. So the pulling out is difficult, but it is going to help, because if there's secondary impact of going to China, there's also going to be a secondary benefit, I believe, of moving manufacturing back here, which is more jobs, higher wages for Americans.
Yeah,
and the rebuilding of communities. Bigger tax base.
It also kind of reminds me of the argument that some people are making. Well, if we get rid of like illegal immigrants who are like basically the slave labor population, then like who's going to cut our lawns and like all these things will be more expensive. And it's like you're arguing for essentially slavery.
Also, that's offensive to a lot of people who do those jobs who are not
illegal immigrants who are paid. Yeah.
Right. Well, many of the people, and we found this out, during the election, a lot of the people who basically voted against illegal immigration are recent immigrants themselves.
I don't know if you can say a lot because there's more non-immigrants than immigrants in the U.S. But the idea that a lot of immigrants are against illegal immigration is apparently stunning to the Democratic Party.
Yeah, or that like mostly Latino communities on these border towns that are dealing with illegal immigration are also not happy with the situation.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Anyway.
So, but about China.
The main thing is Biden did a total art of the deal move by getting these prisoner exchange done. I'm sure Trump was very proud, and when they met, they probably had a slight nod. What?
Matt?
I thought that's what you were going to say.
What?
No.
Matt.
This is why we need to move things on the web. No, this is why we need that spray bottle.
Yeah, well, anyway, so at least the prisoner exchange thing seemed to have gone well.